99% of athletes never fulfill their potential. They end their careers with one simple question. What if at the start of their careers they knew the things that they knew when they came to retire? How much further could they have gone in their sport? How much more could they have won? How much more money could they have earned? Sadly, they can't turn back the clock. But fortunately for you, you can learn from their mistakes. You can learn the things that most athletes unfortunately learn way too late. So in today's video, we'll cover 6 lessons that if you learn now, will maximize the chances of you fulfilling your biggest dreams as an athlete. So let's get started. So number 1 is a personal one. So when I was 13, me and one of my best friends from school got invited to come play football with his older brother and his friends over the summer holidays. These guys would meet up every single day to play for 4 or 5 hours, and they were 2 or 3 years older than us. And my friend and I got pummeled. They were so much bigger, stronger, and faster than us. But you know what? After playing with these guys every single day over that summer, me and my friends started dominating in our Saturday league team for the new season. We quickly became the best players on the pitch by a mile. And I wish now I connected the dots earlier as a kid, but I've learned now that the lesson was, you need to spend a lot of time as the worst. My friend and I during that summer holiday were really good for our age, but we were the worst players in that group of 10 guys showing up to the local field every day. It sucked. We got bullied around, kicked off the ball easily. It was so hard to dribble past these guys, and you had to be so quick to just get a shot off. But despite it being so frustrating at the time, we became so much better that summer. And I wish now that throughout my teenage years, I spent even more time in similar situations. Because a lot of great athletes get super comfortable with being the best. They like to be the guy or girl who scores the most goals or points every game, or just the person who's clearly the best on the pitch, court, or track. But if you're spending 99% of your time being better than everyone you're playing with or against, you stop growing, you stop developing. And the second that happens, the chances of you making it dramatically fall off a cliff. And so it's super key as an athlete to actually seek out opportunities where you're going to suck at your sport. You want to be in an environment that is so tough to train and play in. You want to be the worst person there because your standards will quickly elevate as you find yourself in a sink or swim environment. So your goal always should be to play at the next level up, even if you don't feel ready. If you're in the under 19s, think, how can I get to train with the under 21s? Don't fall into the trap of getting complacent at being a great player for your team or the level you're playing at. The second you feel like a great athlete, find a new team, training group, or see if you can enter higher rank competitions. It requires constant reflection of where your current ability is and what pathway you're really on, which ties into the next lesson, which is you need to reflect along the way. A lot of athletes make the mistake of only reflecting at the end of their careers, missing out on valuable opportunities to learn and evolve along the way. I've worked with an athlete who's a previous world record holder and champion in his sport, and by his own admission, he felt that he didn't reflect enough throughout his career. He got so caught up in just trying to become the best in the world that when that moment actually came, he didn't savor it. He went back to training a couple of days later to keep improving and keep getting better. He still wishes he worked as hard as he did and had that relentless drive to train and compete at insane levels. But he also wishes that he reflected along the way more so that he could have enjoyed the journey more and also developed better coping mechanisms and implemented other mental skills to decrease the stress and pressure that he placed upon himself. And in a lot of other cases among athletes, it's very common that this constant striving for improvement without reflection can lead to burnout, frustration, and even injury. Without understanding the underlying factors contributing to your performance, you risk repeating the same mistakes and stalling your progress. If you grind without direction, you end up taking wrong turns, and despite all your effort, you may not actually get to where you want to go. So reflection is all about pausing, getting the map out and redirecting yourself, whether that's changes in recovery routines, nutrition, or actual training routines, or improving game day preparation. Reflection is super key because otherwise you can coast and go through the motions. And it's only through regularly reflecting that those blind spots you form as an athlete actually enter your vision so that you can self-correct and redirect yourself to higher levels of training and performance. One of the key reflections a lot of athletes have at the end of their careers is that they wish they took better care of their bodies right the way throughout their careers. And so that's why lesson 3 is you need to be proactive with recovery. So the other day I came across this old clip of Dwayne Wade laughing at LeBron James during a practice session with the Miami Heat. And in this clip, LeBron is draped in ice packs, and Wade says to him, "You've got all this ice on like you're 35. And at that time, LeBron was just 26, arguably at his peak and most explosive as an athlete. But the funny thing is, LeBron acting like he was 35 meant that when he actually got to that age, close to a decade later, he was still playing like he was in his 20s. And he'll soon be 40 years old playing in the NBA at still an insanely high level. It's the same with Cristiano Ronaldo, Tom Brady, Novak Djokovic, all these guys who are super proactive with recovery throughout their entire careers. But most athletes are reactive. They do the recovery stuff and routines after feeling some pain or soreness. When they get to their late 20s or early 30s and start noticing themselves slowing down or that their body can't get through the same sessions that they used to easily a few years ago. So even if you're in your teens or early 20s, the best time to commit to a thorough set of recovery routines and rituals is today. Your 35-year-old self will thank you for it because it will give you maybe another 5 years at the top in the thing that you love most when everyone else your age has already tapped out. And it doesn't even have to be extreme stuff. A 20-minute stretching and foam rolling routine can be enough. And then ensure you get 8 hours of sleep a night. And also eating a diet rich in whole foods and avoiding ultra-processed foods. Be like LeBron. Act as if you're 35, even if that's 10, 15, or even 20 years away. Now, despite putting the needs of your body first to guarantee that longevity, you actually need to put the needs of others before your own in other aspects of being an athlete. And that's why lesson 4 is that you need to become valuable to others. I've worked with a lot of athletes frustrated with their game time. They're not getting the opportunities that they think they deserve. And they say to me, I just want to play. And in that statement lies a big issue. Sport doesn't care about your feelings and what you want. In team sports, the only thing that matters is what your coach wants, because they're the only person that dictates whether you play or not. So I often flip that statement back to them with a question. Irrespective of what you want, what does your coach want? Sometimes they say to win, which is great, but we need to then be more specific about what the coach wants from his or her players. And then that can then often lead to a light bulb moment or the penny dropping for many athletes. They realize that even if they've been working hard and in their eyes training at consistently high levels, it can be the case that their coach doesn't see the same thing. The coach has a set philosophy or playing style. He or she wants people to follow orders, instructions, and also show certain personality traits and characteristics. And a lot of athletes fail to consider this before it's too late. They don't realize that you have to be adaptable to the needs and wants of your coaches. Sometimes it's other people too who have some control over your future, things like club owners or chairmen, or selection committees for individual sports, and also your teammates. You need to be of value to others. If you're not, you won't play or have the desired career that you're looking for. Stop saying, I want this or I want that. Instead, ask, what do they want from me? The more you start asking that question, the more opportunities you will get as an athlete. And this is hard, don't get me wrong. It can sometimes mean having to play someone else's game other than your own for months on end. But it's necessary because most others can't hack this. And that's why lesson 5 is that you need to build infinite patience. Jamie Vardy didn't play his first game in the Premier League until he was 27, but he still went on to become the league's 15th highest goal scorer ever, with 136 goals at the time of recording. And Pablo Prigioni made his NBA debut as the oldest rookie ever at 35 years old. He even went on to play in the league for 5 seasons and play in over 250 games. Yes, these guys are outliers, but the difference between them and a lot of other athletes is that they didn't give up. They bided their time like it was no one's business. They were patient beyond belief. In sport, many athletes throw in the towel way too early. And of course, the window of opportunity to make it gets smaller and smaller each year. But most athletes give up long before it's actually shut for good. And they end up regretting it. They leave the sport that they loved in their early 20s and spend the next 20 years plagued by what ifs. What if I stuck it out 3 more years? What if I fixed my mental game earlier? What if I just had a little bit more faith in myself? They say good things come to those who wait. But in sport, it's more good things come to those who work and wait. Because when you're not getting the results or the opportunities that you want, it's easy to take your foot off the gas. Start coasting a bit. Take the attitude of acceptance. Accepting that you'll never play at a higher standard. Accepting that you'll never be a starter. Or accepting it probably won't work out for you. The second you accept these things, you've given up on patience and in turn, yourself. But you need to stick it out for as long as you possibly can because you never know what opportunity is around the corner. Those who keep training and performing with intensity year in, year out, are the few who actually can seize the opportunity when it finally presents itself. And this directly ties into the last lesson, you need to commit. I've said this before in other videos, but you cannot rely on motivation alone as an athlete. It ebbs and flows too much. It's unpredictable. It's often fleeting. But most athletes rely on it as fuel, the fuel to get them through each workout and to stick to the routines required to reach the elite level. But that's where most fail, because the second that motivation goes missing, so do they. They turn up late to practice or they don't stay for as long. Their diet goes out the window because they're no longer motivated to deny the allure of junk food. The very few who do succeed don't rely on this unreliable source of fuel. Instead, they just commit. Because commitment is all about doing the thing, irrespective of whether you want to do the thing. Motivation causes you to easily float towards the things that will make you become better. Whereas commitment causes you to drag yourself towards them, even if you're kicking and screaming. Just like a marriage is a commitment between two people, you need to marry your sport. You commit to remaining faithful to it, irrespective of the highs and lows, as well as the challenges and arguments that you have with it. If you're truly serious about your sport, then it has to become your life partner. And you have to show it love and attention, even on the days that you absolutely hate it. But most athletes separate from their sport before they even realize. They become part of a situationship with it, where they're maybe showing up to it physically, but they are completely somewhere else mentally. And then the next thing they know, the sport divorces them. They don't get offered a new contract or they get dropped from the team. And in many cases, it's because the commitment wasn't there. They didn't show up during the toughest moments. And that's what cost them their career. It's arguably the worst mistake most athletes make in their career. And mistake making is also one of the biggest fears in general that many athletes have. So to avoid this, you should watch this video next.